Hey everyone, for today's video, I'm gonna be talking about something that I'm sure a lot of you guys have been wondering about for a little while. And in my opinion, it's gonna be a tier list. I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding that, and there is indeed a tier list on the actual site, and I do think it's mostly okay. Um, I can't really argue with most of these, but I'm gonna try to give like my own thoughts as well as why I think what I think. Because it's easy to just say, okay, this is the best unit, whatever, whatever. But there's not a lot of context being given as to why, and I think that gets lost on people. So I kind of want to give that context as well as the fact that I just know there's newer players and you might be wondering who they are. These are, of course, my opinions. I'm sure a lot of people would agree or disagree, but if you disagree with anything here, if you think there's a unit there should be but isn't, let me know. But yeah, let me jump right into it so I don't spend forever here. I think for my first unit, it's gonna have to be Demon Lord Samurai Rimuru. This might be an interesting one, but this is number 10, okay? So there's a lot going on with this kit. First of all, great slots. Just absolutely great slots. He has his heal slot, the support slot. This is great, especially for mono dark teams when they use their relics. But then on top of that, he's giving Arts Gen. He's giving, which is type F, he's lowering physical resist. And then on top of it, he can do a ton of damage on Super Art with with the right team. This is, of course, kind of basing him around Mono Demon Dark Physical, to be particular, which isn't as strong, I would think, as Magic, especially with some of the units they have. But it does really work out. Like, if we were to go here, I know, like, Momin, don't even get me started. Momin is a great support to have with him, literally just because he increases physical damage, he lowers dark resist, gives crit, and then this as well, that 250% damage buff you can give to Rimuru, and then he's just popping out a ton of damage. Also, not even to mention, his damage resist for the entire team, just as leader. It is, of course, 70 seconds long, but that is good enough to get you, your team started. And just there's so much support going on with him that he's just a great general pick for number 10, in my opinion. His true weapon as well, it's a 50% dark resist debuff. You really can't go wrong. Some attack and damage as well. But he's really going to just work great with Mono Demon Dark Physical. And I say physical because he lowers physical resist on his super art, or his true art, which gives Arts Gen as well. You, of course, want to probably run this as well, Demon Lord Vox, simply because, he gives demon allies 3 arts a second. He increases their stats, accuracy, so this is acting like a heal. He has insane slots, so you can definitely hold every single Dark Relic, which is giving you Equip CT, damage, stats up. So much is going on. As for the last unit, it's kind of really up for, debate depending on who you like in particular. You could do Diablo. Diablo is very good. If you're going for more of a tank build, I'm sure you could run her if you really need that amount of damage resist. She's literally just solely a tank, That for an actual shield, this for damage resist, damage, then damage resist on that. But Diablo is a pretty good overall pick as well because he is lowering physical resist. That is, of course, probably not stackable with Demon Lord Rimuru, but he gives that arts gauge, he gives his defense slot, he just has so much going on for him that Mono Demon Physical is pretty solid. Just, you kind of really need him. And probably him as well. Like, these are the 2 units you definitely need, and probably him. So I guess you need 3 units, but you get the idea. But number 10 is all the way this low because I just feel like it's not the greatest team in the world. Anyways, let me move on to the next unit. The next unit is actually gonna be Saitama the Hero. And I know a lot of you guys are like, why would you put him, you know, all the way here, like in top 10 best units in the game? That's a little high, isn't it? He's just a DPS, but here's the thing. Insane slots, first of all. Potential 2 5-star defenses is just insane, especially considering he's a light human, so he already has that just helping him out. But additionally, a bunch of arts gauge from his skill, lowering break and physical resist. But then this is where I think he becomes an actual good unit. What makes him so high is this true art. He gives a damage barrier and damage resist to the team. He's basically a pseudo Shiro, but as if that wasn't enough, he does a 300k defense ignore super art. Of course, that does scale with his damage passively, which this can go insanely high, especially if you're running a mono light team that has a bunch of stats up, which is very often. He's just going to be pumping out so much damage, you're not going to know what to do with it. But even if you did think this 30% was a little, 2 defense slots if you really need it, not even including defense slots from other mono light units. And just in general, he's going to be helping out the team so much that honestly, I could see people placing him even higher. Of course, his true weapon, I mean, all stats, attack up, damage up. I really wish I got him. I low-key would have pitied him had I been playing around this time, simply because I love mono light, but also just because it's Saitama, you know what I mean? An actual usable Saitama in sustain, and I just love that. Just a great overall option. Of course, we all know the mono light teams. I'm not going to get too much into it because a lot of the units are going to end up in the video later on, so I'll be giving you an idea of their kit. But just to show a couple, of course, her, him. I mean, I'm not going to go into specifics because, like I said, spoiler alert, they are later in the video, as if you didn't already think that. But regardless, he's just a great unit. He's doing damage. He's providing a barrier, damage resist, break resist, and physical resist if you really need that as well. So just a great overall option for mono light, and he doesn't even need to be in a light team as well, which makes him really good. He can really be on any team. It just happens to be that he gets the most support from mono light. Moving on to the next unit though, I'm going to give the number 8 best slot to Frieren. I know she just came out and it might be slightly too early to say for sure, but I do really think, especially with LB7, she's probably one of the best units in the game. I mean, we saw how high I'm placing her right now, and it's just, there's so much that goes into it. Just to start off, support slot, defense slot on LB7, which I really do think you guys should definitely get. She's a light unit, so she's gonna love being on mono light. Her arts, this is one of the most unique parts to her kit. She increases all allies' stats by 60%, and as I mentioned before with Saitama the Hero, he's just gonna love this because it's gonna scale his attack, which is gonna buff his damage passively. But then as if that wasn't enough, she gives a bunch, and I mean a bunch of arts gen. Just by itself, 120 arts. But then if they're above 10k HP, it then becomes a total of 160. It is type E, but that's whatever, really. I mean, who else? What else could it have been, you know? But the great thing about this is that it's not type elemental, so she can literally go in any team. These 2 parts to her kit, her arts and her true arts, isn't team locked. A lot of people will say, oh, she needs to be in mono light. But especially for new players, this is going to be amazing. You're getting a bunch of, you know, stats up for the team for survivability, a bunch of arts gauge. But then moving on to her super arts, that's where she's going to shine in mono light, because she's giving light damage and then an additional 200%, which is 400% total damage to light allies above 10,000 HP. She is, of course, going to be doing her own damage, as seen with her 180,000 damage modifier. But just having her in the team, just on a mono light team, she's going to be providing everything with this. Like I said before, Saitama is going to love this because it's not actually tied to magic or physical. It's just elemental to light allies. So she can work with more than just, what people would normally think. And as if that wasn't enough, one of the better parts to her kit as well, AoE defense ignore. Like this, I can't overstate how good this is. Because this goes on any team. In endgame content where you can't crit or it's just really hard to and it's not even worth it, this is going to make your team so strong it's not even funny. But moving on to her true weapon real quick, it does increase her max stats and arts to a second, and it has a great damage resist debuff. It comes out to around, I believe, 40%, which, is insanely strong for a magic slot. So you, of course, want to pick this up. And to anybody playing right now, I heavily recommend going for her. Just try re-rolling. If you have any questions, ask me down below. But I think she gets a lot of flack. A lot of people think she's tied to Mono Light, as I mentioned before, but she really isn't. This is the only thing tying her to Mono Light. And that's literally if you're just caring about that 400% damage buff. Don't get me wrong, that's, of course, a big part to her kit. But let's not forget, even if you were to run her on, let's say, a mono water team for whatever reason, stats up, a bunch of arts gauge, AoE defense ignore. Of course, if you have crit buffing and all this other stuff, or you have another crossover art gen, there could be factors taking her off of that team. But just in general, these three makes her worth using pretty much anywhere. This is just the icing on top for full mono light teams. Or even just herself if she's by herself in a different elemental group. But yeah, that definitely makes her deserve to be in this slot. If not, honestly, higher. But I'll put her here for the time being. I won't go too far into it. But yeah, let me jump on to the next unit then. Probably surprising really to no one is gonna be Star God Lisa. There's, a lot to go through with her kit, and I would say she's this high if you have her heal slot, because the magic slot is kind of just not really that great, but this heal slot is going to help out a lot in endgame content, and of course she has these slots which are solid. Just even for starters, her skill, it gives allies type G Archgen, which you basically never see, and on a skill, that's really good. That's what you want to see because it's not tied to anything, and she's already basically giving passive arts for the team. Her arts is okay, but this is where she kind of is used for everything. That equip CT speed by 60% is so strong, it's just, you don't see anything higher than that. As well as this 150% light damage ally buff. Of course, yet again, another great buff to Mono Light, as if they didn't have enough help. She is, of course, one of, in my opinion, the needed units to really have the best Mono Light possible. And then on top of it, her super arts. She gives up to 300% magic damage to the team, which this is where I kind of think she can go into any team. She doesn't necessarily need to be in Mono Light, but of course, if she is, they're getting that full damage capability, 450%, best case scenario. And if you were to run her with units like, even honestly, you can honestly run her with him. And I know a lot of people do try to run him with her because just how much support she has for the team in terms of slots, equip CT, Archgen. You don't even need to be a light unit to make use of this, because that magic damage buffing is going to buff this so much. And of course, you could have the best case scenario, which are going to be light magic DPS, like Ilya. I'm trying to remember who that other unit was. I know she's here somewhere. She's from Overlord. What is her face? Am I blind? Oh, she was right there. I'm actually blind. That's crazy work. Shaltir. We all know the duo of Star God Liza and Shaltir. When they're paired together, this 220k, after of course using her super art, does so much damage, it's not even funny. Like, she does damage as well, but she also provides arts gen. She does up to 300% damage herself. She's giving crit, she's lowering light resist, doing all this stuff, being supported from her. And the reason I don't place units like these, like Ilia here, is because while yes, she works great with a light team or magic team or light magic teams, you don't necessarily need that. Just as a basic general kind of support unit, she's working so well because of her slots, equip CT, and then not even to mention this, her Aether recast. This is just, so basically what it does is it instantly refreshes a cooldown of an equip if you hold it after it was used. So in some comps where you need to like kind of cheese it, this is going to be great, whether that be like a cheesed blessed necklace or you cheese literally just anything. This is going to be used really often. And then of course 50 arts. Her true weapon, don't get me wrong, is really good, especially if you spam it and then you get the stats up, skill CT. But I generally run other equips like Liza's Smart Skirt, Narbarrel Headdress, all those stats buffing things, because Monolight definitely needs that kind of stuff. But not to get too deep into this because I kind of explained her a bunch, but yeah, I'll move on to the next unit. Coming in at number 6 is gonna be Beta. I know you might be asking why, but in terms of mono water, she just provides a bunch. She's almost like Shiro in some ways, as in she provides a barrier, you know, she provides damage resist, but then she's also providing that arts gen, you know? That's really great, especially with it being type F. That's an insane amount of arts gen, not even to mention the fact it's 150 arts gen. But then on top of that, she increases magic damage for the entire team. It is, of course, dependent on whether or not there's water allies, so there is some level of overlap that you can't really do, meaning that you want to run her on a magic water team, but that doesn't make her really bad. Like, the survivability on these two things is just great, and slots, yet again, are just really great, as well as this passive right here. She gives 150% damage to the ally on her left. That's just great if you're running her with any DPS. And in terms of her kit, you kind of want to run her with either a water magic unit or water magic unit. And there's not a whole lot of those, to be completely honest. But I did mention in a video recently, but I think your best option is either going to be Fern because of just this true art, which is going to be insane, or even, I believe Valerie, she's physical actually, right? Yeah, she's physical. I mean, she could certainly work as well, don't get me wrong, but that magic damage buffing is going to be what you really want. Halloween Valerie. Yeah, I know she's magic, although it's a little iffy as to whether or not you want to actually use that. Is she magic? Yeah. And then this is just kind of cheesable stuff if you just need a soul DPS. But really, out of all the water DPS that happen to be magic, you're probably going to want to run Fern. And I know it's crazy considering she's actually not even out on Global. She'll be out soon, but you get the idea. But you could just run a regular magic DPS with her because that would still be 240% damage if nobody else on the team is magic, or sorry, water. Or you could just run a water unit with her because she's water. This will buff any other teams, you know, units on the team, all that stuff. And then just this 150% damage buff just for existing. So you don't even really need the best units possible. But just in general, she's great for damage resist, arts gauge, damage buffing, even more damage buffing from her passive. Her true weapon isn't too bad itself. And she is a spirit, which we don't see a whole lot of these days. Moving on, though, to the next unit in the list. Unsurprisingly enough, I have Emiya here. And, I mean, if you don't know who Emiya is, well, I guess you're about to hear it. There's just so much going on with him. First of all, insane slots. I mean, you don't even need LB7. This heal slot is pretty much what you're going to use. This is just icing on the cake. That defense slot, that support slot. I mean, his arts gauge is insane passively. This art is why everyone uses him, though. A 30% physical resist debuff. Not debuff. Buff to the team. As well as a 15,000 damage barrier. And if he has his passive active after activating super arts, it then becomes 20 seconds instead of 10 seconds. And I don't think it's stated how much, or maybe it's even overstated, how strong this is. This will literally never break when you pair it with defense equips. Especially in mono water, this just carries all survivability. You don't even need him to be on just mono water. People will use him in literally every single team. You throw him onto a team, and your team is not dying. I mean, look at his passive as well. When you activate Unlimited Blade Works, he gives the entire team 30% damage resist just for existing. That's just, that's insane. Like, on top of this, that's 60%. Of course, if it's a physical damaging boss. But regardless, even if it's not, he has his defense slots. And then as if that wasn't enough, he lowers physical resist of the boss by 100%. And this, I honestly personally love. A 160,000 damage modifier super art that increases his attack and damage by 200%. That might not seem like a lot, but especially when he's on, mono water when paired with some of the best units in the game, this does so much damage. He unironically becomes, I believe, like the second top DPS just because of how much this is doing. His true weapon is solid for that increase of arts. I mean, it's not bad, don't get me wrong. You could definitely put something that's probably better in terms of specific quests, but just in general, this is going to be great for him. But I don't want to LARP on him too much because I think you guys kind of already know why he's here. And the reason I don't have him a lot higher is because while, yes, that damage resist is great, he can't necessarily carry a team in terms of just everything. And you'll see what I mean by that later on. Moving on, though, number 4 is gonna have to go to Hauka. I mean, just like Emiya, I'm sure none of you guys are surprised as to why he's here. Insane slots. The LB7 is definitely nice as well, but I wouldn't say you necessarily need it. I haven't really ever found myself needing that heal slot, especially considering 2 other units in mono water already have it. But yeah, this double support slot is insane. He gives himself arts gauge. He increases the team's accuracy as well as human allies' attack by a insane 100%. Lowers crit resist by 100% and water resist, so you want him on a water team. And as if that wasn't enough, his super arts, this thing is insane. I'm not even joking how insane this is. 25 seconds, 7 arts a second for the team, 300% crit damage. This right here is insane. This is just for existing, everybody gets 300% crit damage. You do, of course, need crit buffing, which could either be from a crit buffer or him lowering crit resist on his true art, but that doesn't matter. And as if that wasn't enough, the leader gets 3 more arts a second. So instead of 7 a second, they're getting 10 a second for 25 seconds. That's 250 arts. That is mind-blowing. We haven't ever seen that, and we probably never will again. And then for the rest of the team, they're getting 7 for 25 seconds, which is what, 175? The fact that it's so strong that just like Mako, his super art couldn't do damage. Otherwise, I think he would have been, even more broken. But if he could have been putting out damage, don't even. And then on top of it, he gets 20% equip CT speed passively, as well as max HP up for allies. I mean, what doesn't this man have? Even his true weapon is great. Human allies stats up, he gets 100 arts so that he could speed into his super art. He is so great, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably asking why I placed him at this level. Like, oh, you probably think he should be higher, and honestly, I don't blame you. He can go higher because he can pretty much go on any team. You don't need to be on water, that's just the icing on top. This is really just not needed, especially if you have a crit buffer on the team. This is what you want him for, and then you could probably just spam this as well if you don't want to use this. But just, and then his support slots, oh my goodness, he's just so good. It's too bad he's not here right now for the newcomers. But continuing on to the next unit, coming in at number 3, which might surprise some, is War God Fenn. I know some people might try to like rate him as number 1, which I completely get. His slots are amazing. He gives accuracy, equip CT, arts gauge, crit, and even on his super art, he can do a bunch of damage. Like, he's pretty much the go-to all-around unit, and he's probably one of my favorite units too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, not even to look at this. He gives allies damage resist. He gives everyone 50% arts, 50 arts at the start, as well as increasing allies' damage to enemies. I mean, his true weapon is even really good as well for humans. A 40% damage buff, as well as increasing arts damage, skill CT. I mean, he's like the go-to unit. You pop him into a team, and they're going to have everything they kind of need to be supported. And the only reason that I put him here is just because he doesn't really necessarily have a meta team, right? The 2 units that are going to be above him in number 2 and number 1, I'm sure some of you guys can probably guess who, but they have support. They have teams that they work great in. War God Fenn doesn't necessarily have that. I mean, don't get me wrong, Mono Earth isn't horrible. It's also probably one of the worst elements. I mean, sure, there is definitely some synergy. Maybe Sagiri over here. I mean, there's really not a whole lot that you want to place him into. She, of course, works, and they used to be kind of a meta duo for a little while when she came out, but they've fallen off heavily. He's now more so just a general support unit. You put him literally on every team. It doesn't matter who, and he's gonna work, especially considering he has type A Archgen, which I believe he only shares with like 4 other units in the game. So he's basically always gonna stack. But as I said before, I just don't rate him higher because he doesn't have a meta team. But in terms of versatility, I'd rate him number 1. He can go on every single team. Every single team. You can throw him in there. Sure, he might not be the best, and there could be better units, but the team will never be worse if you put him in there. And that is why he's at number 3. Now on to number 2. This might surprise some of you guys, as in why he isn't higher, but of course we have to have Ultimate Paladin Roy. Like, number 2, I mean, that's not a hate on him, you know what I mean? He has pretty good slots. The defense slot is insane for endgame content. I do wish, low-key, he had a support slot that was 5-star, but I won't complain with what I'm given, especially considering Mono Water already has so much, and then he has that cleanse. But here's the weird thing as well about his kit. Mostly, you're probably never going to use really the lower parts to his kit, as in his skill, his arts, and his true arts. I mean, you might use this for specific stages that need to break, but what you're really going to be using is his super arts, because it gives an insane 7 arts a second for 20 seconds, which is 140 arts. It is type B, but it also gives 150% physical damage. And the fact it's just a flat out 150% damage buff means you can basically run him with any physical DPS and he'll work. Not even to mention this insane Phantom Bullet that lowers physical resist by 120%, gives allies arts so they can start up pretty quickly. He has a lot going for him. He also has his passive, which gives everyone, of course, 50% physical resist for 30 seconds, if he's a leader. And then the 4 arts a second. His true weapon is really good, obviously. You probably want this for him. 2 arts a second, 100 arts to get him to a super art faster. But, like, he's basically really needed for mono water. And let me show you, of course, which units you want to place him with. You guys might already know this, but for the newcomers, the meta team, and I mean just completely meta team, you've probably seen it everywhere, it's going to be Hauka, Emiya, and Jay, just for straight DPS. I actually almost considered putting him here, but in my opinion, I was kind of comparing him to the hero Saitama, and I think Saitama does more for the team in terms of providing damage resist. And while, yes, he's on probably one of the best teams in the game, he doesn't provide more than really just damage, which does kind of suck, but not to say he's bad. He's just amazing. He's amazing if you have this full team. There, you can literally probably clear 99% of content, and that's not even a joke. Literally, the only way I see them not clearing content is if it bans water, bans humans, or bans physical damage, in which case they're literally being hard countered. But besides that, those 3 just kind of really do everything. And you don't even need them to work with him, but he happens to work really well with them, but you can still use them. Sure, he's not as versatile as War God Fen is on random teams because he doesn't have as much support, but it's the fact that his dedicated team becomes so much better that I rate them, I rate him this high. If War God Fen had a lot better support and there was a Mono Earth team that was actually good, of course he'd be higher, but unfortunately he just doesn't have that. Yeah, anyways, moving on to number 1 though, finally. This might be controversial, but in my opinion, I do think he's number 1. And you guys might be like, why him over Roy? And here's my reason why. If only one thing, Mono Light, in my opinion, is better than Mono Water. Sure, Mono Water can literally speed clear through everything, and it just has so much damage resist. But what gives him the edge as well is the fact that I think he's more versatile than Roy in terms of other teams. He, of course, works great in Mono Light, you know what I mean? He has his OP slots. You really want this support slot. He has this defense slot. He's providing Arts Gauge. This active right here, or his passive effects, which can just do even more, give him more damage, have a specific type of equip CT speed for the team. He's giving himself arts. There's so much going on. I mean, this is really good as well. He's giving everybody a ton of arts gauge. That's 80 arts for the team at 10 a second, so it's pretty fast. It is, of course, a little on the lower side for a unit that you feel like should be a little higher, but he's decreasing damage resist as well. 120% if it's a human, god, or demon. That's really great for a literal art gen, but then on top of that, I mean, his skill is pretty good. And then here's the weird thing about him. He has 2 true weapons. This, which is going to be insanely hard for newcomers to get, but it's kind of worth it. 80% damage passively. I mean, it's stackable magic damage up, resisting or lowering magic resist as well, but it's a 6-star, so it's really hard to get. You either have to do the entirety of all Summoner's Roads to get enough LBs for it, or just drop almost 200 rainbow gems to get 5 dupes of this. This is pretty good as well. This is more so just to make him as much of a DPS as he can possibly be, but I wouldn't recommend this unless you really need a DPS and he happens to be your only one. This, if you're able to get it, but most newcomers can't even use it simply because of the fact he needs an LB6 just to even use it, but then he needs the equip to be maxed out to make full use of it. But once you have this on here, Trust me, he is a lot better. I mean, he does this, which is also another great effect. He cuts his CT in half after using this, as well as giving allies 30% equip CT. And I know in the end, people will kind of judge me for this because they're like, yo, Roy should have been number one. He's on the best team. And he does, I mean, he definitely has that edge. I mean, Roy on mono water is crushing through content at LB record speeds that are literally unsurprising. I mean, obviously he's going to crush through everything fast, but I think in terms of mono light, he is going to work so much better. He could literally work with anybody. He's not, damage type cut. He's not limited whatsoever. There's so many units he can work with on mono light, which is what I really love about his versatility. But like, he works with Saitama, obviously, providing him Arts Gauge, a damage resist debuff, Equip CT, slots to help survive. Frieren, they work really well together because of their Arts Gauge stack, the damage up for the both of them. Hazuki, she's an OG, but she still works damage resist up, allies arts damage, lowers enemies light resist. She does damage herself, you can't go wrong. Sargaliza, these two are almost the two that you want to run on literally every mono light team because of that equip CT, light damage up. Slots are going to be incredible. It's a little interesting, I know. But her heal is really strong, especially if you're running her with the rest of a mono light team because her passive is 400 a second. But then on top of that, she doubles it on her True Art, which also happens to give Arts Gauge. And then she has a nice little damage buff at the ending. Definitely not needed, but she's just really nice to have if you need a bunch of healing on mono light. And yeah, I mean, he can literally work with any unit. As can Roy. I give him the edge over Roy though because he can work on more teams. He's more versatile if you just throw him on some random team because he's providing equip CT speed, his great slots, Arts Gauge, damage resist debuff, all these things. And you can even change his slots to get something very specific if you really want it to, as well as making him a DPS against certain elements or races. But yeah, that might be a little controversial, and I would definitely understand if you put Roy number one because I could see, I definitely think mono water is better in terms of overall betterness, but mono light is my personal favorite, so maybe I'm slightly biased, but it also has just so much versatility. Mono light is really only like two variations of the team. It's going to be Roy, Hauka, Emiya, and then either Beta or J, or something along that lines, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be only really these 5 units, whereas with mono light, you can use, I'd say, around half of all light units with Emperor, whereas out of all these light units, there's only like 4 that really work. Oh yeah, also Valerie, you can't forget. But most of these units really aren't going to be as great to just throw on as they are going to be on mono light, which is why I give him the edge in the end. But yeah, I'm looking at the time here and I've low-key been recording forever. Wow. I really hope that you guys kind of liked this. I know this is a lot longer and a lot different than what I normally do. But this was actually really fun to do. I like giving my thoughts and all of this. Let me know down below if you actually disagree with me. I'm sure there definitely will be Roy Glazers out there saying that he's number one over Emperor, and I don't blame you. But I personally just like mono light more. I mean, it's why I titled the video the way it does, or the way it is, because it's my video. But yeah, just let me know your thoughts as well as any units you'd add or replace from my list. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and sub for more, and I'll see you guys later.